Hi there, my name's Ruth Francis. I work at East Sussex Careers Hub at the County Council, and today I'm joined by Charlotte from the NHS. Hi Charlotte.
Hello, hi.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Charlotte, could you start by telling everyone your job title and what that involves?
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Charlotte Waite and I'm a diagnostic radiographer. So this simply means that I produce images to help doctors and clinicians diagnose a patient. For example, 10-year-old James fell over and hurt his legs. The doctor would ask me to produce an X-ray to see if it was broken or not. So put simply, that's what I do.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Now you very kindly have brought some slides along to sort of show a little bit about your workplace, so I'm going to get those going now, and yeah, please talk us through them.
Yeah, so this will always make me smile, that everywhere I go in my job that there are massive caution radiation or caution radioactive signs everywhere. I think it's obviously a bit of a immaturity. A teenage self smiles and chuckles every time I see it, that wherever I go that I'm sort of, followed by these caution X-ray radiation signs. It always makes me smile. It just makes my day all the time.
Brilliant, thank you. Tell us about this machine.
So this is, as you can see, a bit antiquated, but is still very much in use up and down the country in our hospitals. This is our mobile X-ray unit. So we go to the wards or the resus department or intensive care and do produce X-rays of the patients that are either too poorly or too infectious or too unstable to attend the imaging department. So we trundle along all the corridors with this bit of kit. There are newer ones available, I hasten to add, but these ones are still clinging on.
Yeah, it looks very sturdy. It looks like it will last a few decades yet.
It is resistant to many door frames. It is, it's a good bit of kit, this.
Excellent. And you were saying when we spoke earlier, Charlotte, that this might be used with patients who have COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely. Patients with COVID-19 are obviously very contagious, as everybody knows by now. So we really don't want those patients coming to our department if we can possibly avoid it, because of course, not just for other patients, but also for our staff. Also, a lot of them are on ventilators, so they'll be on intensive care units and so are unable to actually leave the ward. But yeah, plenty of chest X-rays will be done for those people suffering with COVID-19. So absolutely, this will be used.
Thank you. So another machine.
Yeah, so this one's slightly more modern, slightly more shiny. This is it's called a C-arm, just because of the shape of the arm, and it is another mobile X-ray machine, but this is one that we use specifically in theatre. So the bread and butter, the main thing that we'll be doing in theatre are trauma and orthopaedic cases. So if somebody has broken their arm, we will be producing images in real time throughout the surgery for pins and plates for the surgeon to operate with, basically. So you're very, very integral. This machine bit of kit is absolutely massive, and you are quite an integral part of the team, because the surgery can't start or can't progress without the images that you produce.
Excellent. So radiographers are really, really important part of people's care when they're in hospital.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We see them through quite all the stages that they go through.
Yeah. So sorry, I jumped ahead there. So this this image looks to me like a broken bone. Tell me what's happening here.
Yeah, so this is the sort of thing that I absolutely love, and I'm not ashamed to say that. This is the sort of thing that really gets me going. Because I love trauma X-ray, so A&E. I love broken bones. I know that sounds a bit weird, but this is the sort of thing that really, really gets me going, because this is a collarbone. I don't know whether it's called a clavicle, and the medical term for it should be in one nice straight line. This one is in many, many pieces, and I know for a fact this person actually went to theatre ended up having a plate put on that and also some screws. So this person had actually crashed into a tree from their bicycle, and this was the result of that. So people present in all different types of things, but you have to get the perfect images every time, so to be able to diagnose and therefore then treat the patient.
Wow, amazing. Thank you. Okay, this looks like my fridge. I'm imagining it's not. So what's this?
These are our left and right markers. So obviously we take x-rays, and quite a lot of people, clinicians especially, have very big difficulties discerning which side of the body they are looking at when they are looking at an x-ray. So to avoid any sort of confusion, it is part of our rules and regulations, how we're registered, that we need to tell people which side it is on, because it can actually affect treatment later on. These ones are bargain basement markers, because as any radiographer will know, that you'll purchase your own just after you qualify, lovely expensive ones with your initials on, and they will quickly get lost. So in the end, you end up bulk buying left and right markers.
Yeah, they look like something you might play Scrabble with, to be fair.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but they're not quite so desirable for other people to relocate for you.
Yeah. So this looks more familiar to me, and it's not a technical piece of kit. So what's this, Charlotte?
This is obviously the most important out of all the images. In healthcare, it is very well acknowledged that something will happen if you make yourself a normal cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and you can just guarantee that if you haven't eaten or drunk anything for hours and you go to make yourself a cup of coffee, that your bleep will go off, and it's the most devastating feeling. So if you make it in a thermos, there's no chances for the bleep to go off and you come back to a cold cup of coffee, because there is nothing quite so upsetting. I know it sounds very, very trivial, but if you haven't eaten or drunk anything for a good few hours, a cold cup of coffee is very upsetting.
Definitely feel the same way. Thank you very much. So we'll stop sharing those slides. Very briefly then, you were telling me earlier that you are from well-known East Sussex School. So do you want to just tell me a little bit about where you went to school, and then the journey from there to becoming a radiographer? So I'm going to call it the wrong thing again. Radiographer.
Yeah, no worries. I know we get the radiologist is a doctor version, and even radiographers say the wrong word quite often. So basically, I went to school in Ringmer actually before it became an academy. I loved that it was a small school, small local school, and I did really enjoy going there. But I did work hard, but I could never really settle on what I would wanted to do. You know, it's always so, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're sort of like, you think you have to be tied down to a certain profession really early on, and I think I found that sort of pressure quite overwhelming, especially at 15 years old. That is quite an overwhelming thing to do. What would you like to do for the rest of your life? You know, things like that. It's quite a lot, and I found that made me actually resist choosing a little bit more. So I got my A levels. I chose subjects, I'll be honest, at complete random. And my journey into radiography from there, wasn't conventional. So after my A levels, I actually moved to London and I started working in sales. And then I worked for a wedding magazine. And then I worked in fashion. And then after a few years, I decided to move back down south. And I got a job. I was really lucky to get a job in payroll for the NHS. And so when I started working there, I got to know all the different roles within the hospital, all the different job varieties, job titles, all different professions. And I realised that radiography was the thing that I was meant to do. It was a bit like that is something that I actually really would like to do. And I was really lucky to be given the opportunity by the trust that I was working for to be sponsored and to train to be a radiographer and get my degree at the same time. I did find though that I had such a different attitude going back to education, and I started when I was 26. I just was, I think I was more mature. I was so grateful, and I felt that, you know, I really genuinely appreciated how lucky I was to be given this opportunity. And I wouldn't have felt like that had I gone to university straight from college. And I think it was invaluable to really learn on the job, because it makes you a more rounded person when you do qualify, and not just a more competent at what you're doing, but just more competent as well. And I think that reflects in the patients.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. So yeah, I just wondered if you could reflect on some of the skills you developed, or some of the qualities you have anyway, just naturally as a person, that you use day to day in your job.
Yeah, I mean, to be a radiographer, you need sort of a different sort of skill set that you would to be other healthcare professionals, purely because we spend such a small amount of time with each patient. You have to be very good at putting people at ease very quickly, and gaining their trust sort of pretty much straight away, because you're seeing people that, you know, are potentially very unwell and very injured, and you want to ask them to do funny movements and hold a position that is really not very comfortable for them quite quickly. So you have to be caring and supportive, but still get the job done, you know, still like, and be able to put patients at ease that enable you to do that. You also do need to be very calm under pressure, because you have, especially on night shifts, if you're in A&E, because you'll be covering A&E X-ray, but you'll also be covering the entire hospital. The wards, you had a staff of X-rays in the A&E department, and then you to just sort of like take a step back, and then just start to. It doesn't come immediately. It, you know, it is always a bit, when you first qualify, a bit like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? But you do develop it, having that sort of background, being a bit calm under pressure, and, you know, talking people down, which I got from basically in payroll, you know, conflict resolution, really. That is just stood me in quite good stead.
Yeah.
Working in sales, working in fashion, working for the magazine, I've got to talk to so many different types of people, and that's really, really important. Just sort of building your communication skills, but not just with one spectrum of people. Everybody, you know, adults, children, all socioeconomic levels, and also people that don't maybe speak English as their first language, or do find English a bit more difficult. You know, these are all quite challenging, and you don't know how to deal with it unless you've you know, experienced it in real life.
Yeah, excellent. So for someone who's 15 and they don't really know what to do for their career in the future, like most of us don't at that age, what would be your advice on skills and experience that they should try and get to sort of develop some of the things they need to know as a radiographer?
Well, I think it's difficult to get experience like dedicated, especially to healthcare, even more to do with radiography, because we are dealing with radiation all the time. But the important thing is to remember that your transferable skills, things that you wouldn't have even thought would be helpful, are helpful. So being part of a sports team, perhaps, or even just doing sport on your own, because you learn how to train, like dedication, your motivation, or if you've got a Saturday job, things that you think, well, that's not going to help me. It will. If you stack shelves in a supermarket, you're learning how to manage your time. You're learning how to work as part of a team. You're learning how to prioritize. You know, you're doing that the whole time without even really realizing it. If you work in a cafe, waiting on tables, or a restaurant, you're learning how to communicate. You're looking at time management, and you're learning to multitask but still keep your standards quite high. You know, all of these things are so helpful when it comes to being a radiographer or any sort of healthcare professional, really.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte. I found that really, really insightful. That sounds like really sound advice for everyone watching as well. So before we started the interview, you gave us a few little tips for websites to have a look at. So obviously everyone knows the National Careers Service website, so you can look on there. But the ones that might be more directly relevant to radiography, so we've got health careers, sorry, .nhs.uk. If you go into explore roles, you'll be able to find radiographer there. Also step into the NHS, that gives you an idea of different roles that you might be suited to, so there's a quiz you can do. And also found related to your professional associations you mentioned beforehand, Charlotte, the radiography careers website is really handy as well. Thank you very, very much indeed, Charlotte, for sparing the time to talk to us. Yeah, and yeah, there's really great tips for people. So thanks for your time.
No worries, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.